Welcome back to another episode.
Yay.
We are here in gloomy Atlanta.
It is very gloomy.
It's the beginning of December. We're getting close to that sweet, sweet holiday season.
We're in it, baby.
Yeah, does Thanksgiving count?
Yes. That's the start of the holiday season.
Okay, I'll give you that. I just really don't like Thanksgiving.
Why?
I don't know. I like the food.
I like Thanksgiving.
It's not that I don't like that. It's okay. I'll say that. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Get a little food. That's it. You know,
I think it's great.
I don't know. I guess I just don't like getting out of my routine. You know,
Yeah.
how
I know
it is.
how you are.
I had to recover for like a whole week. Like it was brutal.
Well, you also were sick,
Yeah,
so I think that really had
I don't
the
know if I
most
was.
to do with
I don't know
it.
if I was sick or I just had like really bad allergies or what. But I was.
You
definitely,
were sick.
Whew, boy,
You were
there was
definitely
a couple
sick.
days there where like I just couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Usually
Because you were sick.
6 a.m. rolls around, 6:30, boom, we're up and
Yeah.
at it. I was sleeping until like 7:30, 8, which just doesn't happen anymore.
Because you were sick.
Okay, I was sick. Fine. This episode, we're going to get to some, towards the end of the year, I love to reflect. I'm just that type of person.
Yep,
I get a lot of energy from thinking about what I've done and what I want to do. So the core of this episode is going to be about our favorite books that, for me specifically, books that really changed my thinking. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple in particular that I want to talk about. For you, it's just like
Books I liked.
books that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So we'll go back and forth. We'll see how many we get to. But to keep this fitness podcast on brand,
Yes.
we will start with a fitness topic. As you know, if you've been watching, I have really started to enjoy the segment of stupid social media.
Yes.
And it's everywhere, man. Like, we're never going to run out of ideas. I don't know if this one really fits, but I thought that this was just an interesting topic. So this is on Threads. Again, we don't shame people, so there's no username here, but trust me, this is a real post. If you're watching a What I Eat in a Day post and it starts with an ab check, please know that that video is promoting a body ideal and not a healthy diet. I thought that was quite interesting. Mm-hmm. So I would like to get first your perspective on someone who's outside of the industry. Have you ever watched a What I Eat in a Day? When you do watch them, is it more for entertainment or do you try and glean some knowledge from these types of videos? I've made these types of videos too, so I'll talk about that after.
You have. They do come across my scrolling from time to time.
I think they're very popular. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I like is ideas for like new things to try or like recipes or snacks because I do love a good snack.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't think of it as like ways to go on a diet. Some of them are pretty toxic.
They're brutal.
I will say. Like there's one that I saw lately that the lady's a dietitian and like the stuff that she puts on her plate is like, she's like, you do half the plate veggies, a quarter plate protein, a quarter plate carbs. And like, that's actually decent advice.
Yep.
But she made the good looking plate and then she's like, okay. And remember, before we eat any meal, we always drink 20 ounces of water. And I'm like, that's like an eating disorder thing that people do.
Is it?
Yes, to fill up on water so that you eat less.
Okay.
That's like a real, that's like a pretty thing. You should drink water.
Let me push back just a second.
Okay.
Sure, maybe it is utilized with people with eating disorders.
Yeah.
But I also think that it is a tactic that you can use to not overeat.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yes, like this is my problem, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
Okay.
This is my problem with the way that we talk about food is it's always to the extremes.
Yeah.
If you do this, you have an eating disorder. If you do this, you're obese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We like the consumption of water pre-meal maybe is a good indicator that maybe you're struggling with disordered eating. But I use that tactic all the time.
Yeah.
And I have disordered eating, but not so much like anorexia, bulimia. I have a binging problem.
Right. So for you, it actually might help you.
Right? Exactly. Like if I physically cannot fit more food in my stomach based on the amount of water that I've consumed, that's helping me. But I definitely understand that it can,
Yeah.
but we all like, it's the way that we have to present the information because the algorithms that we've created want sensationalism and we want all this, yes, no, black, white. Nutrition specifically is incredibly gray. So what works for one person
might not
in terms of drinking 20 ounces of water before you eat may send somebody on the spiral of having to be institutionalized for an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So, that's all I'll say about that. But yes, that
But I think the ones that get picked up to get kind of pushed are the ones that are more crazy. Like I saw another one where it's like this girl eats like only dairy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the conceit of the post.
Right. And she's a model.
Right.
So she's like, and she actually has gained about 20 pounds. That's why she's on this
dairy diet.
She gets all of her dairy from the Amish.
Sick.
She drinks like probably 16 ounces of heavy cream a day.
Nice.
2 sticks of butter, kefir, yogurt. Like, you would not believe the amount of saturated fat.
Her toilet is struggling. That's the first thing that I think about is, my God.
Yeah.
Her plumbing better be grade A, top notch. That's brutal.
So people have commented that, and her response is, I get it from the Amish. So it's like raw dairy, unpasteurized.
So you eat from
dairy.
the Amish, you don't have to poop?
I don't know.
Do they have magic food that just kind of disperses through your skin?
I don't know.
What the hell are we talking about?
Like it's not like IBS level.
I don't
know. That's the thing is it's insane.
If God himself touched the milk, you would still have to just eject that waste from your body. What are we talking about? You get it from the Amish.
I know.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's what she says. Oh, she also eats about a pound of sharp cheddar cheese
I love
a week.
That's insane.
It is insane.
That's a crazy person.
But like she's like, oh, like I feel so good. Like I've gained weight. So now I'm at a more healthy weight.
I mean, good for her. But there's definitely better ways to gain weight.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
What is her rationale behind just the dairy? Like, is she afraid of carbs? Or
the wild thing is she's working with a dietitian.
No way, dude.
Yep. That's the wild
We've got to stop allowing people to be dietitians. Like, let's just get rid of the profession.
I don't think that. I think that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But this one that she's working with,
1 out of every 10 dietitian knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I've found some good ones.
Look online, man. Maybe they're just presenting characters. Like I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. They're trying to make their money on Instagram. They've got to be sensational. But like
I've come
some
across
of this
a few who are actually give very good and balanced advice.
Sure.
But yeah, she's working with some sort of nutritionist.
Surely she has a gluten allergy of some kind.
I've seen a couple shorts, but the crazy thing to me is, so she's a model. She has dealt with eating disorder. She was very underweight.
Yeah.
She was vegan for a while, but also like not eating anything. So
veganism is just an excuse to not eat anything.
For a lot of people.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm vegan. I eat salad.
Yeah.
And I also have an eating disorder.
I think that's true sometimes.
That's why you're vegan.
Sometimes
painting with a broad brush there, but I think that's...
But she was like, okay, I want to get healthy. And so they did like all this blood work with this nutritionist. And so she's eating all this dairy. She was also taking like 40 supplements.
Of course.
Because of all these deficiencies that she had. She's taking fewer now, I think. I saw an updated one.
You know what would fix those deficiencies?
A varied diet.
A diverse diet.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yep. What are we doing?
I know. It's absolutely bananas.
How can any medical professional, which registered dietitians have to be board certified, they have to go through a very similar process to your doctor to be able to practice. How can anybody do that?
Yeah.
It defies logic.
I would love to do a deeper... I would love to talk to that dietitian and find out what they're... because I don't know, maybe...
Surely there has to be some type of...
There has to be some...
allergy or something.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, this is a couple of shorts I saw and I'm like, wow, this is weird. But there are people that like, this girl is hot. Yeah. She's a model. Like, I should also eat $100 worth of Amish dairy a day.
This gets down to the main conceit of the post.
Yeah.
Most people, I think this person is assuming, go to these what I'd eat in a day videos, and they're usually done by bodybuilders, very extreme bell curve end of the fitness spectrum.
Yeah.
6-pack abs, rippling muscles, all that jazz. And they say, if I eat like this person, I will look like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the conceit that this guy's trying to make.
And it's like there are many other factors that get you stage ready. or even like looking that good as a bodybuilder.
Way more, nutrition is fundamental. Yes. But not only is nutrition fundamental, there's the way that nutrition interacts with an individual is different.
Yep.
So even if you did everything the same way, I'm talking training, steroids, supplements, sleep, as the person you're trying to look to,
still be a little different.
First of all, your genetic makeup in terms of your muscle will look different. You have different muscle insertions. You have smaller or bigger muscle bellies. You will not look exactly like the person. The other thing is the way that your body interacts with that nutrition will also be different.
Yep.
There is a genetic component to this stuff that I don't think a lot of people know of or think about.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that these videos are bad? I don't think so.
No, I think the post is getting at the fact that a lot of people look at these videos like a prescription rather than inspiration.
And also the 6-pack ab thing, to maintain a level of leanness, to have visible 6-pack abs for 90% of the population, obviously we have genetic outliers, is not a nutrition context that's going to give you your best health.
Correct.
How much more diplomatically can I say that? If you eat like that, most likely you're missing some key nutrition factors.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to diet down for a stage show, if you're a bodybuilder or a photo shoot, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
And good for you.
It should be a temporary kind of thing.
I think more and more evidence is coming out that level of leanness is not good for your overall and long-term health.
Right.
So I think the issue is the only what I eat in a day videos that do really well are these crazy outlandish videos,
right?
Or the physique is crazy and outlandish,
or
right?
both.
Like Sam Select's video, what I eat in a day videos are going to do way more than my videos for a number of different reasons. But one of them primarily being, you look at that guy, it's like, oh my God, he's a Greek god. You look at me, it's like, yeah, he's a normal dude.
Regular guy.
Why would I eat like this guy? I want to eat like the outlier.
Right.
So there's that issue. I did a couple.
Yeah, you did. It's been a long time.
Yeah, because I don't really find much value in them.
Yeah.
The first one I did, I thought, okay, this was deeper in my diet. Let me talk about it in more of a context of like, hey, this is how I used to eat to get to the highest I've ever been. This is how I'm eating now. So, and my nutrition hasn't changed from that. Like if I went on a drastically new diet, maybe I would do another one, but it's like, go back and watch the one from a year ago. It's this, I'm eating the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just don't see the value in me doing another one. I might,
fair.
I don't know.
That's
maybe.
Fair.
Never say never.
Yeah. But I think if you're, trying to have a lifestyle change and you're like, oh, I would love to find more ways to get more protein in my diet or ways to eat more vegetables, you can watch a wide range of these videos just to kind of get some ideas of like, oh, that looks delicious. I would love to try that.
Yeah. It comes back to this idea that I've been kicking around. Is the onus on the creator or the consumer to give the benefit of the doubt? You know what I mean? Does the creator have to, at the top of those videos, say, hey, this is how I eat. This does not mean that this should be how you eat. Or should we as consumers come to these videos and say, with a little bit of critical thinking, hey, maybe this works for this person, but it may not work for me?
I don't
know.
I feel like it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of creators can be pretty disingenuous with what they post. But
yeah, I think so.
I think that people need to think critically about everything that comes.
Little column A, little column B.
Right. I mean, I think we should be thinking critically about everything that we encounter.
The thing that I'll say is, you as the consumer of this content, you have to recognize that these creators have been conditioned to present their information in this way.
Yeah.
So like I have a video on my YouTube channel called Every Creator is Lying to You. And it's not so much the creator's fault. It is what we've been talking about. Sensationalism, the margins do really well on social media.
Yeah.
So they even if you're presenting good quality information on nutrition and fitness, you still have to package it in a way that's going to like give the perception that this is on the margins. You know what I mean? And so the responsibility is always on the creator, yes, and hopefully creators will be upfront with, hey, I'm making some claims here. I always try and do that with my stuff. I can only talk for myself. But the consumer has to get more critical and think a little bit through what they're consuming.
Right.
There has to be responsibility on both sides. So that's that. I think you could, watch these videos if you find joy or entertainment or even information out of them. They're not going to kill you, but just always know I'm an individual. This person is an individual. We may not be one-to-one. You could try some stuff.
You're not one-to-one with any other person unless you're an identical twin, in which case then, you might be one-to-one, but probably not.
They did a study on twins eating the same food in terms of like I don't know the exact study. I heard it on a podcast in passing. I wish I had the study in front of me, but it's very interesting. And I think the end result was the difference in genetics even between identical twins.
That's amazing.
I'll look that up and get
I would like to read
get a little bit deeper. Okay. The meat of this podcast, we're going to talk about books. Don't tune out. I promise you'll find some value in these.
Yep. Well, we both love to read.
I almost read 70 books this year. And there's still time.
I'm gunning for 100.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let me see. I have my...
It's going to be close.
You think you're going to make it?
I might.
You haven't really been reading that much lately.
I've been kind of in a slump lately.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm just kind of really tired from work.
I'm 57 of 60, and I'm currently reading 4 books.
I'm 91 of 70, and I've got 2 going.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I'm listening to a bunch of these. I listen in the gym a lot. So don't think I'm sitting here... McGee.
I'm definitely not going to reread like Don Quixote or the Brothers Karamazov at the end of this year. I'm going to pick some more reason. I'm not going to read Infinite Jest.
I'm trying to go for Infinite Jest at some point next year, probably.
Yeah, I might as well.
But the problem is I also read 1 or 2 presidential biographies a year. I try to. Yeah. And those are, they're over there. They're
huge. Took you about 2.5 years to read Thomas Jefferson.
Well, it just get like the problem.
You kind of kept coming and going from it.
The problem with the early presidents is they're all so intertwined.
Yes.
There's nothing.
So it's like,
new.
I've already read this.
Yeah.
You
read George Washington, you get a feel for Thomas Jefferson, you get a feel for John Adams.
Right.
Like
the George Washington biography was excellent.
Well, that was very short.
It was.
For some reason, the Jefferson one was 750 pages. I mean, the man did do a lot of stuff.
Well, I know you're really looking forward to Millard Fillmore, so.
Yeah, there's going to be a gap there in the late 1800s to the early 1900s.
Was it Zachary
Tyler?
No, isn't there a Chesterfield?
Chester A. Arthur?
Chester A. Arthur, that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, my word.
There's a lot of like presidents that I kind of forget about.
I think there's a lot of presidents that people just don't even realize were presidents.
Yeah. My personal favorite, Martin Van Buren.
Oh, Van Buren, yeah.
Because he had the
mutton chops.
Yeah, man. He was a pretty good looking guy.
Let's go. You want to go first?
You can go first.
No, you go first.
All right. What do you want? How about...
Just give me one. Go. So if you're ranking them, go lowest to highest.
Okay, you go first. I need to think about that a little bit.
Oh my word.
Because all of mine are really good. See, that's the thing is like I'm going to read 100 books probably this year. This is the top 5 to 6% of the books that I read all year.
Just give me one, because now I've lost mine.
Okay. Okay, so here's a good one.
We're bumbling over here,
Here's
folks.
one that I really enjoyed. I love a good like dystopian kind of fiction. This one is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa.
Okay.
And
Japanese, I like it.
I had a lot of really good Japanese authors that I read this year.
Yeah, you read a lot of Japanese literature.
And I really... They've got something going on over there, man.
So can I expand on why I think you may like the Japanese writing style is very
sad.
It's very melancholy. It's very detail oriented.
Yeah.
Which I think both of those things really resonate with you.
I'm a sad, detail-oriented girl.
Yeah.
What
so
can I say,
I'm trying to get you to watch some anime that, like, not the shonen, like, battle anime, but there are anime.
Sad anime.
Dude,
the one with the little kid that lives by himself, I think I would actually like that.
Yeah,
one.
But that one's more comedic.
Yeah. Well, I like funny stuff, too.
But, like, Violet Evergarden, I think you would love.
Okay.
Like there's a bunch of
maybe in 2024 I'll watch an anime.
We'll see if we can get her to do that. So
this is about it's I guess an island off of the main island of Japan that's pretty isolated, and they're basically the government, so to speak, is called the Memory Police.
Okay.
And every now and then everybody on the island will wake up and they'll be like, something's gone, and like green beans.
Gone.
They've forgotten about green beans.
Yeah,
and
this is such a Japanese
so everybody
story,
like
man.
destroys all of their green beans. They rip the plants out of their garden, and they never eat green beans again.
Yeah.
But there are some people in the community who aren't susceptible to the memory loss, and they're kind of one by one plucked away. And there's a girl or a lady who ends up hiding one of her colleagues from the memory police in like a basement room, kind of like a Holocaust situation.
Nice.
But eventually, like more and more things are forgotten. And so it's very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I thought it was really good.
What's the name of it again?
The Memory Police.
Well, there you go, folks.
Yoko
if you're looking for
Ogawa.
something like that.
Yeah.
Mine are going to be more on the self-help side because, like, you know, I've said a bunch of times that's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-help stuff is garbage.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of it.
You got to kiss a lot of frogs.
Pretty terrible.
You got to kiss a lot of frogs.
And even the good stuff, I think, can have this false sense of, oh, I'm reading this book and this book is taking the place of me actually taking action. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So even with the good stuff, you can get caught in the idea that you're actually making positive change when you're not. So I'll just put that caveat out there. But we're going to go for a classic, one that I had never read, but I should have. Grit.
Oh,
Angela Duckworth.
I listened to a talk by her this year. She was at our company convention.
So here's the thing that I'll say.
She's very good.
This book was written, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
A while ago.
In the context of today, there's definitely been some pushback on her theories. And as with all good science, that is how it should be.
Yeah.
Because that continues to get our understanding further and further.
Right.
I think the book itself is not a traditional how-to book and or self-help. And you'll find that the books on this list for me are like that because I don't want a step-by-step where I am at in my personal journey. I want big picture concepts.
Yeah.
So this concept of being gritty and being resilient, I think, was one that I'm not very naturally inclined to. I like to say I'm very good at a lot of stuff. I'm not great at a lot of stuff because I don't give myself enough time to really grow into stuff. I do a lot of hobbies for like 3-4 months, move on to the next thing. Nothing wrong with that in itself, but I find sometimes that is bleeding over into my personal and professional life. So I wanted to read this. I just think it's just incredibly solid as a pop psychology. You know, you're not going to get anything groundbreaking, especially in 2023. No. All of these ideas have been packaged differently and resold in a different way. But I do think go back to The Well and read what she's got to say.
It's solid advice.
It's very solid advice. It just the idea of just continuing to persevere. I think in any personal or professional endeavor, I think it's really solid.
Yeah. And I think I haven't read the book, but I've listened to her talk about it on a couple of different occasions. Yeah. And she also talks about raising gritty kids.
Yes.
Or like parenting.
Yeah. So there's three main sections. There's like business leaders, there's personal, and then there's like parenting.
Which I think is very interesting.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really continues to stand up is the idea that it is not an innate trait.
Right.
Some people have more, some people have less, but you can teach it.
You can train it to yourself. You can train it to your kids.
Yeah. And I think why it impacted me so much is because we've been talking about having kids. And in my thought process is, okay, how do I prepare myself to, they're never going to have a perfect life if we have kids, obviously, but I want to give them the best shot.
Sure.
And I think the best shot is more so like, how can you attack the world? Yeah. Because the world is going to attack you. Like life is hard. It's not going to get any easier.
Life is hard. How are you going to stand up to it?
So that was why it really stuck with me.
Love that.
So there you go.
Yeah. Sweet.
Next up.
All right. Let's do my favorite series that I read this year.
You're cheating a little bit, but go for it.
No, this is a great one. Every single book stands up on its own. They're all fantastic. I've not read the last one yet, but I'm going to, and my dad's already read it, so I know it's going to be good. And my dad's not a big reader, but he could not stop telling me about this. He's like, you've got to read this. Here, take this home with you. And he was right. I got to give it to him.
They're good.
Yeah, the series is called The Cemetery of Forgotten Books by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. He's a Spanish writer. And they're fantastic. I think they're books for people who love books.
Yeah.
But they kind of have a dark kind of gothic mystery feel to them. They're all related to like a bookstore or the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, which is a location in the series.
Nice.
They take place in Barcelona during the early days of the Spanish Civil War. So there's that dystopian kind of aspect that I enjoy. But yeah, they're fantastic. Some of the books are longer. There's one that's a little bit shorter, but just the writing is so easy to read.
Yeah.
Very engaging, and I couldn't wait to pass it along to my grandma, who's another big reader.
Well, there you go.
I think she's really going to love it.
There you go.
Yeah. The first one's called The Shadow of the Wind.
So
that's book number 1 of 4, but The Cemetery of Forgotten Books is the name of the series. So you can look it up.
Okay. Next up on my list is a really interesting one. It's called Breaking the Social Media Prism. It's really just fascinating. Like social science again, but this year I've really been battling with my place as a coach and as a content creator, and how do I do justice to the information that I'm trying to give to people while also reaching a wider audience. So that's always top of mind, and I just hate social media. I think social media is a net negative on this earth.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I read this book thinking this was going to be all about anti-social media. Social media is garbage, but it's actually very, very measured, and it takes both sides of the political aisle. It doesn't focus on one side or the other, which is always good in my opinion. And I just want, like, the best thing about it is there's a discussion at the end about where they think social media should go. And it's just more so, like, the big problems that they say is the anonymity problem and the problem of algorithms pushing sensationalism, like we've already talked about.
Right.
So their solutions, which I don't know if they like, the problem is everything's ruled by money. Can you keep people on the platform so that they can make more money?
Right.
And creating spaces that do not cater to sensationalism or anger and are not anonymous, how long are you going to want to spend time on that platform? Because it does begin to challenge some of your beliefs. It does begin to make you actually think instead of turning your brain off and just consume. So there's a discussion of, well, maybe social media is just supposed to be another one of the things that we consume. But there are, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people attempting to make content and make that be their full-time job. So we have to come to terms with the idea of not just consuming, but also creating and commentating. And, you know, how does that affect social relationships, political landscapes, everything like that? So their idea was never anonymous. And I think, I'm not going to say this correctly, but like grouping people in ways that always presents an opposing argument. But what's really interesting is they did a study where they put moderates of either, you know, leaning right or left in a group with extremes on either side, and that pushed them to the opposite extreme. The data was striking. It was like 9 times out of 10. Because everybody always thinks, okay, present more opinions, and that will lead them closer to the middle. When in actuality, based on this study, now it's one study, obviously, pushes them to the further extreme on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Wild. So instead of drawing people closer to your opinion, you're actually pushing them away. That's fascinating.
That was
very unexpected.
I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. So their concept is that you can never be in a position where you're ganged up upon. Like if you're the one person holding the idea, you're going to hold on to that more and become more stalwart in that idea. And of course, you know, some people could say, oh, everybody being in the middle is a net negative. I don't really believe that. I think humans are always going to have strong opinions, and the closer that we can get to the middle and compromise, the better it's going to be for everybody. You can argue with me on that. I get it. You know, there's going to be hardcore right, hardcore left. That's fine. But I think if the majority of people are willing to slide in the middle somewhere, we're going to have a net positive. And that's kind of their argument as well.
Yeah.
So it's called Breaking the Social Media Prism.
That sounds really interesting.
Let me know.
I would read
It's short. It's really short. It's a 3-hour listen. I think it's 250 pages.
Nice.
Easy stuff.
Yeah. That sounds very interesting.
All right. You got one more? We'll do one more each.
One more?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have 6 more.
What are you talking about? You can go through.
Have 6 more.
You can name them, but like ones that you really want to drill into.
Okay. I think I've talked about Betty, I think, on here before in the past, so I'll kind of gloss over that, but that's a really good one. I think it's probably the best book I read this year. Wow. It's kind of, I think it's a fictionalized account of the author's life growing up as like a mixed kid in a place that really wasn't very welcoming to that. So just kind of her like coming of age story. So that's a good one. Honorable mention, I guess, because I've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But one that really stuck out that was a unusual book, very short. I think it might have been about 2.5 hours. Another Japanese one, actually, Convenience Store Woman.
Oh yeah, you told me
about this one.
This is like sweeping the nation.
It's fantastic.
I saw a video about it.
It is a very unusual book. It's short. I think I listened to it in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was that short. But it's about a lady who just doesn't fit in growing up. She doesn't really understand how to interact with people. She really struggles to figure out how life works. And on a whim one day, as a college student, she takes a job at a new convenience store, and it's like everything falls into place for her. Like she understands it. It works. She knows what to do. She loves it. She works here for almost 20 years.
Oh, nice.
And everybody in her life is like,
what are you doing still
working?
What are you doing?
Yeah. Why? Like, you have never had a boyfriend. You like live in a 1-room apartment. Like you work in a convenience store and you're not even the manager. Like what's going on? And so it's kind of about her feeling happy and content in her kind of small area of this convenience store, and it just works, and people convince her to step away from that. And it's just kind of how that impacts her life. And it's very interesting, very unusual, but I think it's a fantastic book. It's by Sayaka Murata.
That's the power of autism right there.
So really it is. I think it's, she, of course,
surely,
kind of fits into some of those things we think about as being on the autism spectrum, but it's like she has a life that works for her.
Yeah.
And it's just, honestly, it's kind of empowering because it's like, you know what? Find a life that works for you.
Yeah.
And for everybody else, send them.
That's the interesting, I think the interesting, I'm very interested in Japan for a lot of different reasons, but I studied East Asian history as well in college. And I'm fascinated by the problems that they're dealing with in terms of obsession with work, lack of personal relationships, because that's happening in America as well. Yeah. So you can see they're about 20 years ahead of us in terms of like the birth rate decline. We're right on track for that.
Well, so this is the interesting thing about this book, though, is, having the convenience store manual telling her how to interact with customers teaches her how to interact with friends. Yeah. This person, like, she has friends, she's close with her family, not been interested in dating, but that's okay.
Yeah.
She has a fulfilling life. She has her own place. She does everything she needs to do.
Yeah.
And people are still not happy with her choices.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Is these books that are kind of like, they're countercultural because the idea is, and it's very similar to here, it's like your job, your responsibility in your job is to continue to climb. Like how you said, she's not the manager yet. She's not owning a convenience store.
She's the convenience store woman for 18 years.
And that doesn't really fly in the work culture in Japan. It's always continue to progress for whatever reason. But that, and what's funny is a U.S. perspective and a Japanese perspective, we both are climb, but it's for different reasons. In America, it's very individual. I need to continue to grow. I need to continue to get better. In Japan, it's continue to climb so that the entire company will come up with you, so that the work culture will continue. So that's a really interesting thing, that we got to the same outcome with two different ways of thinking. Anyway, like there's a lot of really interesting countercultural Japanese media that's just like, no, just chill. Just do the thing that you like to do.
Yeah.
And if you're not hurting anybody and you're living a fulfilling life for you, that's fine.
Like that's the most important thing.
Like there's a lot of underground like jazz and rock in Japan that's so interesting. And there's a lot of like metal in Japan that is completely against the mainstream in their culture that I just love because I'm an emo kid at heart. I like the counterculture. I like, so that's fascinating. I really like stuff like that. I just think it's really interesting.
I think you would love it, and you would listen to it in an afternoon. Right. It's very short. I think it's about 200 pages.
Yeah, I think I'll probably check it out.
You should.
That's like, there's a great anime called Way of the House Husband.
Okay.
And it's not exactly the same thing, but he's a former Yakuza boss and he becomes like a nanny or a stepdad. I don't remember the exact, and he has to take care of the kids. And it's like,
that reminds me of the Vin Diesel movie, isn't it? Where he's like
the pacifier.
Yeah.
What a wild movie that is.
That's a hilarious movie.
I don't think it's,
I haven't thought about that movie in years.
So I'll let you in on a little secret, folks. We've been kicking around the idea of doing another channel where we watch terrible movies. Yeah. we just haven't gotten the time or the ability to get it down right.
Yeah.
But that could be one, because I think that movie's got a terrible rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
And our idea is like watching a bad movie, but trying to be really positive about it.
Like we are trying to
we're really trying to find the best part about it.
You know,
what did they do really well?
Right. So, you know, look out for that maybe next year. We've been kicking that idea around, you know, another channel for me to try and figure out, because this one's going so well.
Just for fun.
My last one, and I think the best book that I read in terms of self-help or social psychology, however, because it's another one that's not really self-help, but there's a lot of like things in here that I think have helped me.
Yeah.
It's called Peak.
Okay.
It's called Peak by Anders Ericsson.
You love him.
He's doing great work.
Yeah, he is.
In the social you know, kind of along the same lines as Grit, but in a different way. So the main conceit of the book, it's studying peak performers.
Okay.
And the main conceit is there's no such thing as innate talent. Everything and everyone who gets to the peak of what they do put in 10,000 hours and more.
Yeah.
Work, mental energy, time. And the reason that this resonated with me so much is, like I said earlier, I quit a lot of stuff because I get to a point of resistance. And in my head, I think the people that are good at this never reach this point of resistance. They were just automatically good at this. And so I've reached this point of resistance. I might as well switch to something new. And this book really, really flies in the face of that. Like there's so much good 10,000 foot view stuff, but then there's also like how to deliberately practice, because you can practice in incorrect ways and you can be spinning your wheels. And I've used that in my training, in the way that I coach people, like how to really drill down to what is deliberate practice that is actually going to make you better. It's just, I think everybody should read it, because you can take, let me just I wrote a summary of what deliberate practice is. And it's like, use this. If we're coming to New Year's resolution time, this is the way to do it.
Well, and like all of these books always talk about, deliberate practice, it's so important. They really rarely tell you how.
Yeah. Which is why I like when I say there's 90% of self-help books that are garbage, it's those books that just kind of like touchy-feely, do this and meditate, but they never actually give you anything. Whereas this book I think really does. So the definition of deliberate practice, it consists of the following elements: setting clear goals, focused attention, breaking down complex skills, immediate feedback, and then repetition with refinement, and then pushing beyond your comfort zone. And so it's like, I always take it to powerlifting because I'm a powerlifting coach, but like this breaking down skills and immediate feedback connection, like those two things are two that really they talk about as like being the same thing. A squat, a bench, and a deadlift are their own thing, but there are micro skills within a squat, a bench, and a deadlift. The ability to balance, the ability to brace, the ability to grind through a rep. There's a mental side of it. So breaking those things down and then getting immediate feedback on what you're doing and shifting. It's just so valuable in the sport of powerlifting. Yeah. And it's the way that I'm trying to move my coaching towards. Now, I'm not perfect at it, and it's way harder than just saying, hey, that good set of 3, move on to the next thing. Because you really have to drill down to what was the lifter thinking? What was your process? What led up to this good or bad rep? How, you have to go deeper. But I think that is the more valuable way to progress. So I cannot recommend this book enough. Peak. It's fantastic. I don't know. It's great.
Awesome. Can I throw out my honorable mentions?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. If you're looking for a post-pandemic dystopian book, you can't beat Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel.
Man, are you preparing for the end of the world? Or what?
I love her. I don't know.
You've been reading a lot of dystopian, apocalyptic.
I have read some of her books in the past, and they're all fantastic. So I just happened to put this one on hold, and that's what it was. And it was also fantastic.
Yeah.
One that is not a bummer of a book, it's just kind of like a long, sweeping history of a family over many generations, is The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, I think you say his name.
Nice.
He's a doctor, so it also has kind of a little bit of a medical side to it. He also wrote Cutting for Stone, which is great. And then I think, is that it? Oh, a good thriller, Locust Lane by Stephen Amadon.
Man.
A thriller that I didn't guess the end of at 60% through.
Way.
Yep.
That's impossible with books.
I know.
there's something about the thriller genre in text that's just more telegraphed than in film. Mm-hmm. Because I think in film, you can have stuff on the screen that kind of telegraphs it upon second viewing. Mm-hmm. But if you're reading a thriller, you're really like dialed in to like those little details that may indicate where things are going.
Well, and the other thing is I read a lot of thrillers or I listen to a lot of thrillers. And
they all have the...
At a certain point, they do get a little bit formulaic. It doesn't take away from how much I enjoy listening to them. Right. Like, I'm a huge Ruth Ware fan. I just love thrillers. But this one actually kept me guessing for almost all of it.
Nice.
Yeah. I think at about 85, 90%, I'm like, okay, I think I know who did it.
It's great when you find something like that.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, oh, I didn't totally guess the ending of that one halfway through. Okay.
I think that's why... The Usual Suspects is so held in high esteem is because film people specifically didn't guess the ending when it came out. And I don't want to spoil it. I mean, it's 30 years old. So.
I think that's also why people speak so highly of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie because I mean the first time I read that I was in like 6th grade but I was like no way and I immediately read it again because it's just so unexpected and those are very very rare. I think the this isn't on Agatha Christie's level but I mean I think it was the best thriller I read this year.
It's a double-edged sword because you get those those unicorns, and then everybody tries to repeat that formula.
A recent one was The Silent Patient.
Which one was that?
Surprised me. Oh, it's by Alex Michaelides, I think. He has a Greek name, so I might have said that wrong. But I remember I was listening to it on audiobook, and it was literally... it was 98% of the way through. It had like the big reveal, and I out loud said, "No way!"
Nice.
And then I texted my entire family,
you
gotta read this book. Those are unicorns for sure.
Yeah, and it everything builds upon itself. So there's this moment of like, oh, we got to do the reveal where the villain is actually the good guy, and we go through cycles of all this stuff in film and whatever media it is.
But every now and then you'll find one that really surprises. And this one isn't quite on that level. Yeah. But it was good.
Well, for me,
really
that's
good.
7. Like 7, just David Fincher. It's just fantastic. It's horrendous. It will make you feel bad. It will make you feel bad. Like, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. But it's one of those where you're just like, wow. Like, great stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our books. Some entertaining, narrative-driven, some social science, self-help.
Yep.
You've got a wide range of stuff. If you've read any of these, please let us know in the comments what you thought.
And let us know your favorite book of the year.
Again, yes. I'm thinking, so...
We got to get prepped for next year's reading list.
Now let us know. Now would be a great time to join the Discord because probably within the next couple weeks, I'm going to just put out a post and you can participate if you want to, if not. But it's great things that you did in this past year. I really enjoy reflecting on the year that has been, and I find a lot of value in other people's reflections. It could be media, it could be personal bests in the gym, whatever. But if you're not in our Discord and you want to be a part of that, come on in.
Yeah.
It's quiet, but it's a lot of fun, and we're just going to continue to grow. If you like this episode of the podcast, give it a thumbs up.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. This is, not all podcasts are like this. Sometimes we focus more on the fitness stuff. Sometimes we focus more on life stuff. It's our podcast. We do what we want.
We do.
We're going to try and get an episode out every Monday until the end of the year. One of those Mondays is Christmas. So
that one might not happen.
Who knows? If I'm on top of the scheduling and I can get Sarah away from work, we'll try and backlog some stuff. But just give us some grace as we get into the end of the year.
Yep.
It is what it is. We'll be back next year if we don't make it to Christmas.
Yep.
Thank you so much for watching. You got anything to say to the people?
Have a great holiday season.
Well, we'll see them like 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, but like start enjoying it now, and then.
Oh, I got my advent calendar from my mom. I broke into it yesterday. Fantastic.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah,
nice.
It was the first.
Yeah, I thought you forgot.
No,
you didn't tell me about it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to eat all the chocolate. Because my mom only got one for both of us.
Well, it's milk chocolate, so you're probably going to want more of them anyway.
It's good, man. I love it. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye.